welcome. Welcome, everyone. There's going to be people coming in here from all over the world. I've got people in India, in America, in Canada, in Russia. They're coming from everywhere. And I'm looking at starting this as a ongoing channel that is going to be there for the next, every week, every Saturday at 10 a.m. I also want you to know that all of you that are here I've met you at some point or other in the last 10, 15 years, either as a friend or as a client, or in some way you've come to me or our paths have crossed. So it's really great to find you out here. And some of you are from my friends on Facebook. But the important piece that I want you to know is that I've been learning from all of you, although you've come to me today to learn, but I've been learning from all of you. My grandfather's last name was Vidyarthi, and Vidyarthi, that's on my mom's side, and that means student. He called himself a student, and somehow, without consciously thinking about it, I've sort of followed in those footsteps of being a lifelong learner, a student of life. And been learning from every single person that I come across and from every single situation. And that's what's enriched me so much and helped me get to this place where I am today. I've not been so much a book learner. I've not been so much, I've made my mistakes with gurus and teachers and things like that. But I know one thing, the thing that helped me the most in life is to stay open, to stay wide open to learning from everyone. So I really thank all of you for your contribution to my life and for all the ways in which you've supported me and continue to do so till this day. I'm so deeply touched. There were so many people who just joined the bandwagon and said, we're here for you. We're going to support you. We love you. And it's that energy that I want to bring forth in the world, an energy where we can support and love each other and just make the world a better place. So let's get started with the pre-recorded video. Please remember once again during that time to write down any questions you might have, and I will be happy to answer them when the video is over. So I look forward to hearing from you. Please keep it alive, keep it interactive. That's the whole idea. And then I'll see you after the video is over. Hi, welcome to Loving Soulfully. My name is Rohit Juneja, and I work professionally as a spiritual counselor, personal growth mentor, life and relationship coach, and do things like past life regression as well. But I'd like you to get to know me at a more personal level. Many of you have met me at different times of my life, but I'd like you to get to know things about me that very few people know. So I'm going to start you off by a little introduction to the little boy that was born and was 1 year old. That was me. And I know we've all had our baby times, but I grew up to be a young and very passionate child. In this picture, you can see me crying over a birthday cake that was shaped like a train, and I was very attached. Didn't want anyone to cut it, and I was resisting and fighting. Why are they cutting my cake? And later on, there I am with my dog that I had for a little while. And from there, I went on to become a teenager. Now, teenagers, like all of us, and I'm sure you too, we've had our different things that we were into. Some were into drinking, some were into drugs, some were into whatever. But for me, the passion that I had in my life was a search for meaning. I wanted to know what the heck was going on. I would ask my father and other people, why do you work so hard? Like, you're going to die and leave it all behind, so what's the point? It just didn't make any sense to me. I wanted to know the purpose and meaning of life. Why are we here? What is the soul? What is God? Why do these religions fight with each other? But people didn't have answers for me, at least the ones that made any sense. I read a lot of books during that time and remained very unsatisfied, would argue with people, discuss, and whatever I could to get my hands on anything that would help. So that search for meaning resulted in me going from becoming an engineer, which is what I was supposed to become. In India, you kind of became either an engineer, a doctor, an accountant, a sort of business person. That was pretty much it. Anything else was not considered a very high value. Anyways, I went on desiring to become a filmmaker of all things. And because I didn't like what they were offering in India, I came to America. I came to the San Francisco Art Institute on the grandest adventure of my life at the age of 19. And that's me. This is a pretty lousy picture, but yes, I had long hair, round glasses, kind of like John Lennon, I think, a beard. I was a free spirit, finding ways in which to explore through the media of film what life is all about. But that wasn't quite satisfying me. And a year later, my parents came to visit, and something very unusual happened. My mother and I were driving back from New York down the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And while driving, and it was about 5 a.m., my mom had gone to sleep in the passenger seat, and I fell asleep. That's right, while driving. But something unusual happened while I was sleeping. I started dreaming. I was in this deep dream of being in a temple and looking at a form of Krishna, and there was this deep feeling of peace that came over me, like I was safe, like I was protected, like nothing could harm me. And suddenly there was a thud, and I heard this car kind of hitting against something, and I managed to steer and pull and, sort of stop the car. When I got out, I was on the side of the freeway, right next to the railing. I noticed the car was slightly scratched, but as I looked past that railing on the side of the freeway, I noticed a steep incline. Had we gone down that, both my mother and I would have been dead. In that moment, these words came out of my heart or soul or something, and it said, "God saved me." I was shocked. I would never have said such words. I was an agnostic. I didn't believe in anything. I used to say that unless you can prove it to me, I won't believe it. But here I had something miraculous that had happened. A couple of months later, this whole thing went like in high gear from here on. I was 20 years old and I became a monk. Yes, that's me in the picture. I stayed celibate for a couple of years, then I realized I just couldn't do it. I was interested in girls, and so the guru that I was following at the time said to me, "Get married." And that's what I did. I got married to someone who I had never met in my entire life. We met the day we were to get married. We went on to have a wonderful daughter who is so precious and dear to me. She is my rock. She's the most amazing person in my life. But at that time, when I first held her, as you see in that picture, I had no clue. What do you do with a child? I had never been around a little girl or a little child like that. And so that began the journey of learning everything from parenting and psychology and self-help. And I moved on through quite a process. If you see in this here, seeking to be a filmmaker at first and becoming a monk, then getting married and becoming an entrepreneur. I moved back to India from the US and became had my own art gallery. And a few years later, a friend of mine said to me, "Why do you do this? You spend most of your time helping people with their problems. I think you should do something about that." And the whole option of being a therapist or a psychologist, it had never occurred to me. But I was still terrified. I had no training. So I went on to, or in that kind of work, so I went on to start a child development center. Because I'd been working with parenting now, I had a pretty good idea. I'd been learning and studying, and I began to teach and began to work with kids, and I started a whole institute like that. A few years later, by the year 2000, I began writing. I had learned to quiet the mind. I'd learned to listen to my inner voice, and the words that were coming out, I was writing them. It was so inspiring, so beautiful, that by 2002, I gained the inspiration to leave everything behind, all the business, everything behind, and just trust that a new path was opening up for me. I began to trust the universe, God, that I would be guided, that I would be taken care of. And in that process, I went and got some training to be in spiritual psychotherapy. and became a counselor, a coach, a mentor, which I continue to do till this day. And of course, now I'm starting up my online webinars and courses and YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. So welcome to all of that stage of my life, and I really appreciate you being here at this time. I wrote a couple of books in the past few years. One of them is called Loving Soulfully, and the program I'm going to talk to you about right now is based on the Loving Soulfully book. I also wrote another one called God, You Sexy Devil, which we can talk about some other time. There were 5 key things that I learned, 5 really basic lessons that massively changed my life. And those were: 1, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make a lot of them. Personally, I learned that my mistakes were my greatest friends. I was going to turn them, I learned at every stage to take those mistakes and turn them into gold, to turn them into something where I would learn from them. I didn't necessarily become rich. I didn't become famous, but I did develop what I set out to do, which was to develop me, develop the person. That's what I was interested in. I also learned the value of foolishness. I learned that I don't know. I used to think that I used to read a lot, I used to study a lot, I was trying to be really smart and all that. But over the years, I learned something that I heard once first from Socrates, which was, to know that you do not know is the greatest step to knowledge. I learned that by keeping my mind empty, by being a blank canvas, by knowing that I do not know, I began to learn more than I ever had from any book or anything. I began to learn from everyone. I began to listen to my heart. I began to hear inspiration and wisdom from everywhere. The most ordinary people, from a child. I also learned some other things. I learned that I'm flawed, imperfect. All of us are. Many people used to come to me in the course of my practice, and when we boiled it all down to what their main issues were, it was always about, I'm not good enough, something is wrong with me. And I realized this is our condition, all of us. We're all flawed, and yet we seek perfection. The perfection we seek, as we'll talk about later, is within us. That's our soul. It's not outside. We cannot become it. I learned that the perfection already exists. We're seeking for it everywhere, like someone who's lost their keys and is looking for them all over the house. But that perfection is here inside us, and we are, as human beings, flawed and imperfect. And that flawed part will never become perfect, and the perfect part will never become flawed. So that required acceptance of the human part, learning how to really love myself and know what that deep, true soul love, self-love is, and we'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, coming to the question of relationships. We'll be discussing all of these things, what real relationships are. And what I learned in writing my book, Loving Soulfully, is that the mind doesn't know how to love. It is the soul that knows how to love. And we're going to learn how to access that. That's the whole point of the program. So, as a monk, I had been trying to meditate. I really tried hard. I tried for almost 10 years, but I failed. We would get up at 3 a.m. in the morning, meditate, pray, fast, serve. But for 10 years, my mind never became quiet. I can't say it would in fact race even faster than ever before. And I don't know if you struggled with this, but to me it was a nightmare. I finally gave up on meditation. Even though I got married, I'd been doing it it just wasn't working. And one day when this happened when I was driving late at night, I'd given up on meditation, and it suddenly happened. While I was driving, my mind stopped. I was observing everything. I was enjoying the music and the cool breeze, but there were no thoughts. And then it struck me. And this, of course, this state lasted the whole entire journey, half an hour driving. It struck me that I'd been trying too hard, that perhaps it was easy. Much easier than I thought. That perhaps instead of it being a mountain to climb, like, this hard work, like our mind tells us, maybe it was something I could just slip into. And that became my practice from there on, to learn to just relax myself. And I realized it's sort of like falling asleep. You can't make yourself fall asleep. It's not something you do. It's something you allow. You can't make yourself fall in love. It's something that happens. You can't make yourself do most of the things that really cause us the highest levels of pleasure and the greatest levels of joy. It happens. So it's not, that's sort of what I began to understand. That understanding led to an experience where I began to hear my inner voice and then began to write. So it was phenomenal what occurred. I learned that through breathing, I could use all my senses. I could be in my body. The breath would take me into my body, into my senses. And by being fully present, I didn't know about presence. I didn't know about mindfulness. I didn't know about any of these things. I was just experimenting with myself. But in those experimentation, I became aware of a part of me that we call the soul, I guess, that felt naturally peaceful for no reason at all. I became acquainted with its energy, its sweet, kind, loving energy. It felt intoxicating. Like an addict, I kept coming back for more and more. People get addicted to money and fame and substances, but I was addicted, intoxicated, and in love with my soul. So my journey through all of this is going to be, as I share my experience, I do that to tell you that this is possible. It is possible because I struggled. And now I've learned simple techniques that will help you get there, that will make it a lot easier for you. And that's what I want to share with you. I want this to be an ongoing program where I can share with you all the wonderful things I've learned. And I'd like you to try this experiment. See for yourself. Take a deep breath right now. Take a moment or two. Breathe and become aware of your body. Relax. Let your belly fill up as you breathe. Do this for a minute or two. And instead of doing this as a technique, instead of trying to do something, I'd like you to feel something. Feel what lies within. Feel what it feels like when you breathe. Become fully present to the breath as it goes in. Just notice. What does it feel like? Take a moment. A lot of people, when they're doing this, will come back and say, it feels peaceful. It feels calm. And I ask, well, where is this feeling coming from? And if you stay here longer, you'll feel that it is not only peaceful and calm, but there is a different kind of happiness inside here, a quieter kind of happiness. A feeling of connection with the world, a spontaneity, a feeling that you are feeling light and uplifted. Where is all this coming from? And actually there's much more. There's wisdom, there's words in there, there's insights in there, there's music in there, there's dance in there, there's passion in there. There's a whole inner world of expression that sometimes artists and musicians and writers have discovered. Meditators, all kinds of people have discovered that inner world. But learning how to tap it easily and learning how to use that energy to become a more powerful, dynamic human being, that's what we're going to set out to do. So before we can actually get there, and before we can go deep into this, I'd like you to ask yourself a couple of questions. What is this thing that I'm talking about, the soul? It comes down to one question that many great spiritual teachers have asked. Who am I? Am I my body? Am I my mind, my thoughts, my emotions? Am I my personality, my ego, my nationality, my ethnicity? Am I my job? Am I my resume, my education? Who am I? Am I my beliefs and values? Am I my possessions or hobbies? Am I my life story or wounds? Or am I something else? Am I this thing that lies within, this feeling of peace that lies within me? And if that is so, then why am I listening to my mind, and why am I devoting so much of my time and energy to that which I am not? I'm not saying we're not going to be in the world and enjoy the world and do the things we have to do. Of course we're going to do that. But why am I not in charge of me? I'd like you to think about that. Take a moment and think about it. In Loving Soulfully, I wrote, what you long for cannot be found outside of you. The treasure you seek, the answer to all your troubles, lies freely, abundantly, and endlessly within you. Within you lies yourself, your soul, your essence. Therein shall you find the fulfillment of all your desires. Therein shall you find unlimited, everlasting love, peace, joy, and wisdom. What you do not see within will be invisible in your world, and what you see within you will find everywhere. It's really true. This has been my experience. And then I went on to write, love not another unless you have first learned to love yourself. Seek not the one who will fulfill and love you like no other. The one you seek lies within. It all starts with you. But here's the problem. If you'd like to know what stops us from getting there, I call it the mind God. Despite all our notions of freedom, atheism, religion, all our progress in science and technology, there is one God every human being believes in, blindly, and that is the mind God. We believe our mind implicitly. We treat its opinions as absolute truths. We follow its orders to the best of our ability. We obey it, defend it, and fight for it. We rarely challenge it or talk back to it. We treat it as our personal scripture, savior, or God. The mind, as far as that is concerned, it lives in a world of its own, a self-created world. It generates spontaneously 50,000 thoughts per day, more on a busy day and less when we're relaxing. But even during our sleep, our mind is churning out thoughts. Does your mind chatter endlessly and drive you crazy? Does it call you names, for example, stupid, lazy, idiot, etc.? Does it judge you, criticize you, belittle you, beat you up? Mine used to do all the above. I don't know if it does for you or not, but a lot of people tell me it does for them as well. Does it get anxious about the future? Does it ruminate? Does it grieve? Does it process the past? Oh, it can really keep us occupied and busy. And then on top of that, we have our feelings. The mind interprets things. It makes assumptions. It tries to predict the future. It thinks it can read the mind of others. It makes up all kinds of stories. You hear a sound and it's making up a story of what might that sound be coming from. You see something in the dark. It's imagining that it's something, a snake, or there's something lying down there. It makes up stories all the time. And the more you watch it, the more you observe it, the more you'll become aware of how it is constantly messing with you. It has its own personal mythology on which it operates, deep-rooted beliefs, which I call personal mythology. I'm not good enough. I'm messed up. Something is wrong with me. I'm flawed. I'm defective. These are so untrue, and yet the mind of almost every human being I've come across, including myself, tends to go there. But just like with anything that is a myth, it's important to bust the myths. And I believe we can challenge our mind to do that. To do that, we must realize that you're the boss of the mind. You are the soul. That's your true identity. And that soul needs to be in charge. Right now it's been on vacation. It's been kind of sleeping. It's been dormant. It's a matter of free will and choice for us to awaken it. So the whole process that I will lead you through is about awakening the soul, because only then can you tame the mind. You need a superior force to deal with an inferior force. The superior force is the soul. So once you claim your soul as the boss of the mind, and you realize that I am not my mind, I am not my thoughts, then we can change the entire dynamic within. It's not just by meditation. I tried that. I had to do some really serious things to change the dynamic within, the relationship that I as a soul had with my mind. When you realize that the mind is your employee, your mind is or an assistant, like an artificial assistant, like Alexa or Google, that's the kind, or Siri, That's what your mind is. It's an assistant. It's there to help you. It's not there to control and dominate you. Of course, when the boss is missing, then even the assistant becomes the boss. So that's kind of what's happened to us. Keep in mind that power is never given, it is taken. Even with dogs, when you're training a dog, you have to show it who is alpha. You have to be assertive with it. You have to set boundaries. Even if you're raising a child, you have to set boundaries. With the mind, I found it is very important. Believe nothing that it tells you. See, these little things that I'm telling you, they are golden nuggets. They've taken me an entire lifetime to understand and to practice. The practice, once you understand it, is much easier than it was for me, because I had to kind of figure it out. But believe nothing your mind tells you. If you can practice this one thing, you will find everything changes. Because once you stop believing it blindly, sure, it's got some practical things, especially when it comes to more logical issues, especially when it comes to day-to-day stuff. Of course, it has some valuable inputs, but it is an assistant. You will consider its points. You will not believe them. And yes, you have to do this consistently. Be considerate with yourself, because in the beginning stages especially, you're going to mess up. There's no doubt about it. You will be like a person learning to ride a bicycle. You will fall, you will get up. You will fall, you will get up. You'll get it for a little while, you'll fall out of it again. This is normal. When you drive a car, when your baby learns to walk, it's there for any skill goes through this process. So be consistent with it. Just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Once you've established the boundaries, you almost create like house rules for yourself, where you say, the mind is never allowed to judge or criticize me under any circumstances. And if you're consistent with that, it will become a pattern. It'll get trained. Through assertiveness and nurturing self-talk, you will find that you can become your ideal parent, your ideal lover. And I'll show you a lot more about how all that is done. There's much more to this. I'm just giving you sort of outline right now. What you'll find is that when you shift the identity from I am, instead of thinking that I am my mind and body and the soul is some unconscious thing, dormant, if you're in that state, then things like happiness and love are like a teeter-totter, a seesaw. They go up and down. They're always fluctuating. Happiness and love, up and down, up and down. Whereas if you say, I am the soul, and that's a very conscious decision you've made, and you've gone and you've trained yourself in that way, then the mind and body now are in control. You'll find that happiness and love become very steady. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, for one whose mind is under control, it will be the best of friends. And for one who has failed to control their mind, it will be the greatest enemy. So, we want to come to this point. Some have called it enlightenment, but I think that's a really big word, and it confuses all of us. We think it's some special and rare people who can get there. We don't realize that enlightenment is just a question of awakening. Your soul was sitting dormant. It's time to awaken it. Put on your alarm clock. Wake it up. But once it awakens and you've tasted it and you've experienced it and you've become attuned to it, you'll realize you can make it stay awake permanently. That's called moksha. In Sanskrit, that means liberation or freedom. Freedom from the mind, freedom from the world, freedom from ups and downs, freedom from misery, freedom from suffering. Moksha. That's the word. And that's what it means. Awakening results in freedom. That's the aim. That's the idea. And so it's with that I begin to tell you more about loving soulfully. You see, I believe that to love, we have to be able to awaken the soul. The mind is not a great tool for love. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute. First, let me tell you about how loving soulfully happened. It started off in a tent. Yes, it was at a stage of my life where everything wasn't working out. I just had come to America, in the few months that I'd been here, I ran out of money and didn't know how I was going to be able to pay my bills or do anything. In that moment, I went for a walk and began to seek answers from God. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And I began to see pictures of me sitting in a tent. And I said, this is crazy. I've never put up a tent. I've never lived in a tent. I have not camped out before. I didn't grow up in America. I don't know how to do this stuff. But there it was. And a day later, I found out from a friend that she was moving with her boyfriend. They had this beautiful 17-acre property near San Diego. And I said, could I come and see it? And there it was. You can see the pictures. It was incredibly beautiful. It's exactly what I had seen. And if I spent the next 3 months there writing Loving Soulfully. I had actually begun writing Loving Soulfully as little it was actually a bunch of snippets from things that I'd been writing to people in Facebook. Yes, in Facebook. It actually began on Facebook. And I would comment on people's things. And one day someone said, you know, the way you talk about love is so unusual. I've never heard anybody talk like that. I said, really? My very dear friends pointed that out to me. I said, I had no idea that I was being unusual. I thought this was normal. So I collected together all the things I used to write and went into that tent and didn't leave until I was done. Let me read you one of the passages from there. The soul of love unfolds when you adore, nurture, and embrace yourself unconditionally, when you romance yourself tenderly, passionately, and sensually. Within yourself you will find the most intoxicating elixir, the secret to unlimited, unending, soulful love, the key to fulfilling your deepest desire and longing. Yourself, that is your soul, knows how to love you like no one ever will. Yourself will never betray you or leave you. Yourself is the only thing that is truly yours now and for eternity. So why is it that this is so important? The problem is here. The mind, when you try to use the normal ways of loving, it is judgmental, as we talked about earlier. It punishes us if we make mistakes or do something wrong. And it is conditional. If you do this, then I will love you. And the unfortunate thing is we not only do that with ourselves, we do that with our children, we do it with our partner. And so the only kind of love we have, initially when we first get love, is this beautiful, pure, lovely thing that comes to us. Gradually our mind steps in. And as our mind steps in, we go into this conditional mind love. We have no idea what soul love is. We seek soulmates. We seek partners. But how will you recognize your soulmate if you haven't found your soul? And unless you find your soul, how will you recognize another soul who is of the same vibration as you are, the same frequency as you are? No. And even if you did find your soulmate, how would you keep such a relationship? How would you be able to honor the soul? The soul will not exist in a place of judgment. It'll back off. It'll go away. That's what's happening around us now. To actually be in a state of soul love, there has to be non-judgment and acceptance and unconditional love. So unless you have practiced that with yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to do that with another. No way at all. And once you have that practice, then you can begin to romance yourself. Romancing yourself is not about indulging yourself or pampering yourself as people do right now. It's not about shopping, and it's not about, getting yourself a massage, but it's about giving to yourself what you would want your ideal lover to give you. It's about dating yourself, making love to yourself. It's about feeling complete and in love with yourself. It is the greatest love, and when you're filled with this love, you'll be in a position to share it with another. There will be an overflow which you will then share with a partner. It starts off here and then it goes forward. It doesn't start with the mythology of love that we've been taught. The romantic love notion was actually created about 300 years ago. It was a bunch of stories that people made up, and it became very popular. It was sort of a popular movement, and it's become the norm now. We think that this is what it is, romantic love, roses and chocolates and Valentine's Day. But fairy tales promote that. Religion supports that. Everyone's joined in on the bandwagon of romantic love. But is it working? We want to find the perfect one, our perfect mate, our idealized lover, the knight in shining armor. We want that person to save and rescue us. We want our twin flame, our soulmate. But is it working? 60% divorce rate, 50% of people having affairs, 100 million singles, 44% of US residents 18 and older are still out there looking for their perfect mate. You have broken families all around, bitterness, loneliness, hurt. Why? Why, I ask. The inner voice that I listen to and I ask these questions of says to me, the mythology of romantic love is a mentally concocted, religiously manipulated, socially conditioned, media-enhanced delusion that has nothing to do with true love. The knight in shining armor will never save you. The perfect mate will never complete you. The happily ever fairy tale ending will never come to pass. Thank you. If you really want to fulfill your soul's yearning for undying romance, passion, and love, if you really want to free yourself from these grand illusions that have birthed deep pain, disappointment, and betrayal, then come with me on a journey into the heart and soul of love. So with that, I'm going to end here. I just want to encourage you to really begin to see the divine in yourself, in everyone around you, especially the ones that you hold dear, and the entire world, in all of nature. To make every encounter sacred, to offer respect, caring, adoration, and validation to the people you come across, to radiate love, to be an ambassador of love. That's the purpose of this webinar and the webinars that I'm going to be having hereafter. I invite you to give your input, your likes, your reviews, your comments, your questions, your feedback. I hope you've downloaded your copy of Loving Soulfully. I've been giving out the free, exclusive color copy. I hope you've downloaded that. Please write a review on Amazon after you've read it. And we'll be having this every week, 10 a.m. Pacific time, except if I'm traveling or out of town. Please invite your friends to join us. We will discuss how to tame the mind. We'll discuss self-love. We'll discuss soul love in relationships, divine love, bhakti, Sufi, all kinds of things related to love. I'm planning to have online courses, YouTube channel, podcasts, and live events, perhaps all over the world. And I need volunteers. If any of you are graphic designers, book editors, web technologies, people who can support me, marketing people who can support me in trying to get the word out, I can't do it all by myself, so I'd really appreciate your help. And above that, I'd love for you to become a patron of this project. There is a site called Patreon. I've put a link up. And if you wish to, you can contribute something every month to help make this work into a big success. Hi. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. And there have been some questions. Namita asked, how do you claim your soul and how do you control your mind? I think I've answered those questions. But just to recap, you control your mind by taking charge. That's the first step. I find that before even meditation can work for me, before any process can work, I need to decide who's in charge. Am I in charge of my mind? Is this my mind? And if it is my mind, then, and I'm in charge, then I need to be able to assert my will with my mind. I need to say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. You can't push me around, or your inputs are not true. I don't have to believe you. I don't have to believe anything you say. I don't have to make you, my God. So yeah, if you can really challenge your mind at every step, you'll find it really easy. It'll calm down. It's like this little dog that gets trained. Once it's trained, that dog that becomes cute and lovable and adorable. It's not that the mind is some terrible thing. It's just that no one ever trained it. No one ever showed us how to. So that's how I see it. And then after that, the meditation techniques work beautifully. My primary meditation technique is just breathing. I love to just take in a few deep breaths, come outside, and then I like to feel the breath. And I find that when you feel it, it's just intoxicating. It's just, beautiful. There's an energy in it. There's a vibration in it. I say that's the energy of God, because that energy is present in everything, everywhere, all around us. And so when we breathe in and we feel it and we're present to it and we become, it uplifts us. So yeah, that's been my primary thing. I've also loved kirtan, which is chanting or call and reply. Just, a lot of different things. And of course, mindfulness is something I discovered without even trying. I just kind of was like doing it naturally, enjoying every little thing that I did in my life, like eating or drinking or whatever it was, just being really, not just being present, but enjoying everything. I found that enjoying deeply, like in a very present kind of way, but savoring every little experience was so rich for to train the mind, to focus it. In Sanskrit, the word they use for meditation is dhyan. And dhyan means focus. As kids, they would tell us, where tumhara dhyan kidhar hai? Where is your focus? Where is your attention? And I think for a lot of us, our attention is on our phones, our attention is in our thoughts, in our chattering mind. But hey, if you can realize that your attention is your responsibility, it's you that can really train yourself where you want to put that focus and attention. It's the biggest thing that will, in terms of achievement, in terms of happiness, in terms of love, where's your attention? Where's your dhyan? Where's your meditation? Whatever you meditate on will become your reality. When you meditate on things that are really negative or hurtful or whatever, then that'll become your reality. When you meditate on things that are not going okay, that'll become your reality. Whatever you're meditating on, meditation is your repeated thinking about something, your chintan, as they call it in Sanskrit, which is your repeated thinking, your repeated thoughts about something, your focus, because your focus is determined by those thoughts. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And how do you claim your soul? Well, you just make a choice. It's the choice that sits with you. Do I want to be a servant of my mind? Do I want to be subservient to my thoughts, emotions, my life story? Or do I want to be the one who's in charge? And the beauty of the soul is it's indestructible, it's fearless, it's passionate, it's carefree, it's spontaneous, it's alive, it's vibrant. So why wouldn't you want to claim it as your true self, compared to the mind, which is always fearful, egotistical, scared, nervous? And hey, we all have the same thing. It's not like I've been nervous right through this whole program. I mean, just getting it started, I was nervous. It's been crazy making, trying to do it all by myself. And that's why I'm asking for volunteers and people to help out. But it has been overwhelmingly, I've been scared. I'm glad I had a recording that I could just kind of play and just chill and relax and come back into center. But damn. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that once you claim that your soul, or you come to this, beautiful place, it doesn't mean the human part's going to go away. Oh no, it's going to be there. It's going to be absolutely there. You're going to feel it always. It's always, as long as you got a mind, so you got to learn to make peace with that. You got to learn to work with that. And in that nervousness that I've been feeling, I've been like, I hope this doesn't go wrong. That doesn't go wrong. There were so many moving parts in here in doing a webinar, which is my first time doing it. Oh my goodness. There were a zillion things that could have gone wrong. And the fact that you're here, the fact that I'm here, that we're talking, that you're hearing me out, thank you so much for being there. I couldn't have done this without all of you. You've given me hope. You've given me confidence. You've given me the sense that I can do this. And I love you for that. Come on in. More questions. Anyone else? Oh yeah. Clarity asked if she could share this webinar with her friends that couldn't make it. And absolutely. You'll be getting the replay recording. Do with it as you will. You can share it on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere you feel like sharing it. Please go right ahead. You're most welcome to do that. The advantage of being there for the live session is you get to ask the questions. You get to participate and interact. And I wish more of you will ask questions, because that's kind of like that's what turns me on. That's what gets me all excited. It's like, okay, because what happens is that when you ask me a question, I have to kind of go within. I actually don't know the answers. I really want you to know that. I am not this super smart guy who knows everything. I have not read a lot of books. I don't know a lot of stuff. I don't remember things even. Okay, I'm pretty forgetful, as far as those who know me know that. But I've learned to listen to this inner voice. If there's anything that I have, I give it credit. I give that soul, I give that connection to God, I give that the credit, because I know me. I am just, I used to look at people who were great speakers like Deepak Chopra and, you name it, Tony Robbins, whatever. And I would think, oh my God, I can never talk like these guys. And the truth is, I was right. I can't. But one of my friends pointed out, yeah, you can't talk like them, but you can talk like you. And what you say is fine, is worth it. So, yeah. Um, I have a question here from Glenn, and I think somewhere, where's that question gone? He asked, how do you deal with anger? So what I've learned about anger is, or any emotion for that matter, is, now we've been talking about the mind, we've been talking about the soul, but there's a whole other part of the mind, which is not the logical part, that's the emotional part. And the moment you start the mind, you have a mind, you're going to have not only thoughts, but you're going to have emotions. And a big part of it is, how do you deal with those emotions? So I'm going to give you a few really key tips that I found. You cannot logically deal with an emotion. Logic and emotion are two very different things. And when a person is emotional, or when you're emotional, if you try to logically do away with your emotion, either the emotion will get more aggravated and agitated, or it will get suppressed and pushed down. So I strongly recommend to do neither of those. If you're dealing with an emotion, be it anger, fear, or any other emotion, acknowledge it. Say, just, like, thank it for coming. Even if it's anger, just take a deep breath. First, take a deep breath. I find that always helps. It's kind of like shifting gears. It shifts you back into your body. So instead of being in your head and trying to analyze your emotion, take a deep breath, come into your body, and ask yourself, where do I feel this emotion? Is it in my heart? Is it in my solar plexus? Is it in my belly? Where do I feel it? On my back, on my shoulders? And wherever you're feeling it, bring your awareness there and have a little dialogue with it. Let it tell you, what is it that it's feeling? What is it that you're going through? See, I used to really not be in touch with my emotions. I didn't even know what I was feeling. So if you asked me, what are you feeling? I mean, anger, yes, I knew that one. But other than that, if you asked me, what are you feeling? I didn't even know. Or sometimes I didn't even know that I was upset or angry. It took going through Louise Hay's the book that she had, Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body, that really helped me in getting in touch with my emotions, because she had this chart there where if you had any physical symptoms, you could correlate that to emotions. And that's how I kind of managed to put it all together. Been a long time ago, but managed to figure out what I'm feeling. But what I found is, once you know what you're feeling, then breathe, come into your body, dialogue with the emotion, ask it, what is it, just listen to it, hear it out. Oh, I'm feeling scared because of what? Okay. And then be really open, no judgment, no questions, no analysis, no trying to push it down. And then say, I'm here for you, I love you, I'm going to take care of you. And what's this I that's speaking? You took a deep breath. That's your soul. Let your soul come out and let it speak to. Let there be a higher force dealing with the lower. It's like the ideal parent dealing with the child. It's like the ideal lover dealing with beloved. It's your soul dealing with your fearful inner child, or fearful your ego, and comforting it. So really, I find if I just put my hand on that part of me, or on my heart, and I just say, you know what, it's going to be all right. I love you. I'm here for you. It really helps. It just soothes. So this is called self-nurturing or self-soothing. Really. Now, sometimes you're in a place where you can't do any of that. Then just gently stroking your hand, just gently stroking yourself, or just stroking the back of your neck, something, a little thing which nobody will even notice. You can do that. And you can have that little talk, or take off from a heated argument or discussion, go off to another room, maybe the bathroom, restroom, something. And once again, just listen to your emotion and soothe yourself and say, I'll take care of this. Thank you. I don't know the answers right now. I don't know quite what to do, but I'll figure it out. I'm here for you. Trying to see if there's any more questions. How do you deal with people who hate you and belittle you? How do you radiate love around to them? Thanks, Namita. Another great question. I've had to prepare myself for this because as I've been writing things that are somewhat controversial, especially in my book, God, You Sexy Devil, I had to really prepare myself for the hate mongers. And I find something really important, that if you truly take the time to love yourself, then hate loses its power over you because you have a foundation of self-love. So I'm going to be talking a lot about self-love and other things. Our time for the webinar is kind of coming to an end, and I don't want to take it longer than I said I would, which would be an hour. I'm going to be talking about these topics in the weeks to come. Every week I'm planning to hold this webinar. Every week I'm going to be bringing up new thoughts, new ideas. I'm going to keep the videos actually a little shorter because next time I won't be talking so much about my own story. I just wanted to share that with you in the first time around. It's really special for me that you people came the first time that I'm doing this, and it's very, very precious. I'm deeply grateful. I mean, if you weren't there, I wouldn't be doing this. I need you to be there. I need your support. I can't, if you find any value in what I'm saying, please be there. Because without you, I'm nothing. I can't do any of this. It's really crazy hard work. It's a lot. It's very scary. And having you there gives me the hope, the encouragement, the support, the love that I need to keep going. So I want to keep this going every week, every Saturday at 10 a.m. I'm going to throw out some alternate timings. And if any of those timings work for you, please let me know. Just go ahead and answer the poll right now. I'm giving you the choice of Monday to Saturday, mornings or night. Then the rest I'll have to work it out on my own schedule. But please go ahead, vote, and let me know your choices. Eventually, I would love if any of you can support me in this, whether it's through technology, marketing, in any way at all. If you want to support me, just email me, let me know. And I will be so very grateful. It's hard to do all this on my own. I'm trying to do the webinars. I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to start a podcast. I have a lot that I want to share, and I'm excited about it. And in the course of the time, as we move further, I would like to explore everything from self-love. Self-love was, by the way, the number one topic that came up in the poll that I did. So if that's, I'll keep polling this question again and again as to what people want to hear. But every time, please, if you have any further things you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to email me. Check out my website if you want to know more about what I'm doing. But feel free to email me your questions, your thoughts, your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. I'm seeing on the polls right now Saturday nighttime, but remember when I'm saying nighttime or morning, that's Pacific time. If you're in India, for example, that would be your my 10 a.m. here in California and San Diego would be your nighttime. So if you're in any of the eastern parts of the world, that'll be your nighttime, morning for me here. If you are from the US, then please write down, or California, then write down morning. So just, but if you're in the US and you want nighttime, then please write that accordingly. Just remember that's Pacific time. Okay? Pacific time is about 12 and a half. I have a lot of folks from India here, so I'm using that as a reference point. Pacific time is at this point 12 and a half hours behind India. So that means if it's 10 a.m. here, it's 10:30 in India. And later on, it'll become even 11:30. Timings change. So please do it according to that. And since we are now pretty much done, I want you to look out for the emails that'll come within about 5 hours. You'll be getting them, which is for the replay recording. Once again, please feel free to post them, share them, and please come back again for the live webinars. I need you. Your support means the world to me. So please be there. I'm also going to put out, on the encouragement of someone who's been really supporting me on this, a more daily live YouTube videos, like about 5 minutes. I'm trying to commit to this. I am really hopeful that I will stay with it. About 5 minutes just every day, just to give you some thoughts for the day. Just trying to be It's whatever comes to me, because I'm just a very spontaneous person, and I don't think a lot. So whatever comes it comes. I don't know what's going to come. Maybe sometimes nothing will come. But that's just what I'm hoping for. And if there aren't any major things right now, I am once again very, very grateful. Oh, it says the poll only allows you to do one choice. Okay, that's a new learning for me. Thanks for that, Maya. I didn't know that it would only allow one option. So, Christy had a lovely question. Unfortunately, it wasn't marked. I will. Did we as humans somehow switch emotions from fight or flight that keep us alive to trying to figure out feeling with logic instead of being okay with emotion as a tool? Yes, I think so. I see most people thinking about their feelings. Why am I feeling this way? Why did he do that? What does it mean? And we become so tuned to being logical that we even do that with our emotions. My strongest recommendation is please don't do that. Please feel intensely if you want. If you're angry, as Glenn asked, then even go and you find a safe place, of course, a quiet place where you're not going to disturb anybody. But if you want to scream into a pillow, scream out loud. If you want to punching back. These are the psychological ways of dealing with it. But I deal with it more through self-love, and both are fine. But yes, the biggest problem with our emotional state is that we analyze our emotions, and I strongly recommend not doing that. All right, guys. Thank you very, very much. And I love you all and look forward to seeing you in the next webinar. I'll be here every Saturday. It looks like Saturday is our day. That's what most people have said, 60%. And so I'm going to continue with that. Saturdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 10:30 India, or 11:30 later on when the daylight saving times kicks in. All right, have a great day, and thank you so much for being here once again. Lots of love.